Are you overlooking these bourbons that just don't get enough credit? Let's take a look at 5 underrated bourbons. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Bourbon Hutch, and thanks so much for joining me on this journey through the world of whiskey. So in the bourbon world today, there are a million options. And the way I break it down is that some are hyped up to the max, some are relative unknowns, there's a lot in the middle that some people really love and others don't see as favorites. But I think we can all agree that there are some out there that are just really, really good and don't necessarily get the recognition they deserve. Now, that isn't always a bad thing because it means these bourbons are often sitting on the shelf waiting for you to go pick them up and have a great pour. So I thought today we'd take a look at 5 bourbons I think are pretty underrated. Most of these are well known, but I still think underrated and widely available, and you can probably go into most stores and pick them up, except for the last one, which is a little bit more limited. So let's just dive into the list now and break down these 5 underrated bourbons. Before we jump in, do just want to encourage you to smash that like button, put in the comments below your own list of what underrated bourbons are out there in your opinion. Last but not least, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Subscribing helps the channel grow, but also helps me know what specific kind of content to keep creating for you guys. All right, so let us dive into the list. Bottle number 1. This is a bottle that has started to gain some traction in the whiskey world. People are starting to realize the value that's sort of sitting at their fingertips, though I think it's still, by all accounts, underrated. And that is Cooper's Craft Barrel Reserve 100 proof version. So this stuff is just so good. Brown sugars, sweet oaks, good amount of cherry, really flavorful stuff for right around 30 bucks. This is a Brown-Forman distillate, I believe, so it's got that really sweet profile like I mentioned. What they do that makes this sort of unique is that once they have charred their barrel, they actually chisel out parts of the barrel to create more surface area so that supposedly the distillate is interacting more with the barrel, and I do think you get a lot of good barrel notes in this product. So overall, Cooper's Craft 100, it's something that's gaining traction. People are starting to realize how good it is, but still an underrated product out there and just one that is always worth the buy. All right, second bottle comes from another major distillery, is a well-known product, but if you ask me, I'd still say it's kind of underrated. And that is Russell's Reserve 10-year. You can tell I liked it because this is an empty bottle and I've drunk all of it. But why is this one underrated? I mean, most of you might recognize it. A lot of people who are getting into the whiskey world, it's a 10-year product that you can get for right around 30 bucks. Well, I mean, I think Wild Turkey 101 gets a heck of a lot of notoriety, and this is sort of its forgotten brother sometimes. And like I mentioned, we're talking about a 10-year-old product from the Russells and from Wild Turkey that is just really good. Good vanillas, cherries, age and oak presence, a lot of barrel spice on this. So for me, this is just one that is classic, really flavorful, good stuff. It's a pretty easy sipper at 90 proof. So yes, it's a well-known product that a lot of people enjoy, but if you ask me, it goes toe-to-toe with Wild Turkey 101, and in terms of aged products that you can actually get your hands on at all times, I think people overlook it quite a bit. All right, so bottle number 3. We are talking about a bottle here that is a little bit more unique, certainly a little bit harder to find, and kind of part of a whole lineup from a distillery that I think gets underrated as a whole, and that is 1792 Bottled in Bond. So this is obviously the bottled in bond version. There's also the small batch. There's the single barrel. There's full proof that a lot of people love. I think this bottled in bond is the one of the line that is personally my favorite that I've tried and also just overlooked in a lot of cases. People have familiarity with the small batch. A lot of people gun for full proof and store picks. But the bottle in bond kind of sits there as this one that I just think is so good. I think it really elevates what the small batch has to offer. And it's just more flavorful, good banana note in there, rich, dark sugars and brown sugars, even like a coffee note on the back end, so a darker experience. I think the whole 1792 lineup does get overlooked though. I think 1792 small batch is one of the best budget bourbons under 30 bucks out there, and I don't see that many people talking about it that often. Now, admittedly, 1792 products are becoming more and more allocated in a lot of areas and a lot harder to find, so you may not see this on many shelves. You can always go pick up the small batch though, and if you do see bottled and bond, please give it a try. All right, so bottle number 4, I think, delivers on one of those features of whiskey and bourbon that people always look to, and that is age. And this is one that is more available than many other well-aged whiskeys and tastes really, really good. And that is Knob Creek 12 year. So Knob Creek 12 is a 100 proof version. You can find 120 proof versions of this too, which I've heard are really, really good. But this standard 100 proof version, right around 60 bucks, is really, really tasty. I mean, such good vanilla notes, good age on it and presence, a little bit of tobacco, hint of nuttiness that Knob Creek and Jim Beam products overall often deliver. But I think this one overall is just criminally underrated by many people. I think there are people who are diehard fans of it and seek it out and know about it and love it. And there are many people who are unaware that this 12-year-old whiskey is out there ready to be snagged in a lot of cases for right around 60 bucks. It's not allocated. It is not a limited release. It's a regular part of their lineup, and you can go get your hands on well-aged whiskey for a reasonable price, and it's always going to be good. All right, now bottle number 5, the last in the list. We need something to round out this list, I think, something that's a little bit more unique, a little bit more limited, and maybe even put under a certain time constraint where you can go out and get it. And in terms of the entire world of allocated bourbons, limited releases, a lot of that stuff gets a heck of a lot of hype, and there are just a few that sit in there in that category that are more widely available and always worth picking up. And in that category, I think the Maker's Mark Wood Finishing Series is criminally underrated. Such good stuff coming out of Maker's Mark year in and year out with their wood finishing releases. This is the Maker's Mark FAE02 from last year, 2021. Really delicious stuff. Same age as a lot of their products, so probably in that 6 to 7 year old range. But barrel proof stuff, we're looking at usually around 110 because they have a lower barrel entry proof. So 110 is maxing it out for Maker's Mark in a lot of cases. Beautiful whiskey in here, rich, dark tones, great brown sugars and oak, softer wheated flavors, good fruit or darker raspberry kind of fruit I get on this one. So just a really delightful experience overall. Best news about the Maker's Mark Wood Finishing Series is that it comes out twice a year, so you'll get spring and fall release. They are more widely available than a heck of a lot of other limited releases. They're probably one of the most available limited releases out there, pretty big batches of this stuff, and right around 60 bucks, 70 bucks MSRP. So we're looking at a relatively findable and pretty affordable whiskey that a lot of people just pass up on shelves, and it sits there for a while and you can go out and have it on your shelf twice a year. All right, everybody, that wraps up my list. Like I said before, put in the comments below what you think of the list, what you think of other underrated bourbons that are out there that I might have missed or might not even be aware of. Let me know what you guys think a lot of people are passing up on that is really dang good whiskey. As always, thanks so much for watching, and until I see you guys again for another video, all I can say is keep drinking good whiskey, maybe even some underrated whiskey, and cheers.